All right. Who wants to do the recap? Should I do it? Because mine will obviously be skewed.
I
Go
think
ahead,
everybody
because I
should.
was so tired last
Right.
week. I didn't even have notes.
Well,
Yeah.
when last we left off, the colony ship for the Hivers had crash landed on the planet. There was some type of catastrophic mishap as we were, just reaching the planet, I guess, in orbit. We managed to gather as many Hivers as we could around the Queen's chamber to basically insulate it for the impact. The ship crashed into the side of a canyon on this inhospitable planet. Many Hivers died. However, the what would you call them? The
Surveyor?
baby Hivers. Them.
Hatchlings?
Yep. The hatchlings. Some of them were born prematurely, and some of them were still in their, I guess, their cocoons or what have you. So my character, who we've renamed to the Protector Annihilator, because Hiver is all Hivers are Hiver, but right, exactly. But for simplicity and I guess for the sake of our own sanity, we decided that there's different designations that we have to use. So try to organize people. Meanwhile, up on a summit, the Surveyor Hiver. Where are my notes? Hitu? Was that the name? Hitta. The Surveyor had found a likely place for us to put the colony, but we didn't necessarily make it there. We went a little bit further off course. So the Surveyor had to come find us, and in doing so, help with the organization and the mobilization of the Hiver forces to move to that new location. That is my brief recap.
Everybody free associate what you did and saw during those events.
Yeah, I think it was a little chaotic at first. And then once we got our bearings and started kind of initiating roles for different Hivers, Hida kind of got stuck with the role of, all right, take the obnoxious hatchlings and get them out of here and move them to our new location. And so I know that our surveying Hiver had to endure Hatch, my character's obnoxious behavior. But we all got there safely with just minor, I think, trials and tribulations as we navigated the dangerous terrain and crazy, I guess, alien life forms that are on this planet. So it'll be very interesting to see how we survive going forth.
Yeah, that little hatchling really was a help. I would have probably have lost more of those small ones on the way if they weren't around. And right now we are still trying to make the space I found at least somewhat safe and livable.
The
and
journey
to get
was...
an idea how to continue in this situation without the usual supplies.
The journey was a little more. There were more sacrifices on the journey than you implied, Renee, because only 2 out of the 3 of you made your necessary rolls, so the group did make it there. But the failed roll led to the loss of a number of the Hivers along the way, perhaps some of the material they were bringing. Although, since Renee, you made your roll, the hatchlings made it through okay. So anyway, that was one of those interesting things where the eventual composition of the group and where you might have ended up was very much subject to the rolls. So that was the result was pretty good. I mean, democratically speaking. Now the pictures that I put up are from the Pinnacles National Park in California, And they, if you would imagine, well, first of all, the scale of the pinnacles in reality is impressive, but not horizon shattering large. So the first thing we do is we make this a lot bigger. And then the second thing we do is we infuse it with all the possible features of a hellscape, but particularly the weather lashing it. But the cool thing is that the nature of these stones and stuff like that actually makes a lot more of the area livable than is the case anywhere else on this hemisphere. So that's good. There is on the hiking map there, which I guess you would have to print onto or insert onto a white page to see properly because it's transparent. But on the top of the loop, toward the top of the page, there's reference to caves. In the real pinnacles, these are really cool caves because the whole pinnacles is made of tumbled rocks. And Earth has created a big mountain out of it. And then the ones that are sticking up at the top are the famous pinnacles. But it really is just a huge jumble of rocks. So therefore, the caves are actually not like tunnels in the earth, like proper caves or hollowed out areas in the earth. They're actually just the crevices and sort of makeshift tunnels that are created by the rocks all jammed together. So, but they're very impressive, and some of them are very much like caves when you get in there. So it's actually a really cool loop inside. There's in fact, I think it cuts through the whole thing eventually. And there are plenty of tunnels where guests should not go. So think of the whole thing as being kind of riddled with passageways. And so I think that the combination of it all means that there's several different micro environments there, all of which are suitable for converting into kind of turning the whole thing into a big hive structure, especially if you maintain the natural formations which make it safe in the first place. So that's pretty much, I've sort of summarized what I think Hita discovered. But it is not as dry and south, or rather, it's not as dry and western looking as the pinnacles obviously are.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's, well, okay, so the first thing is that I've described the planet as very stormy, and the storms are not just rain, they're worse than that. I mean, it's kind of like almost warfare level blasts, that hit the place or strike at different places on the planet. Probably with, literal plasma or something. So and also, however, precipitation of different kinds. I mean, anyway, just imagine it as hellish. I mean, violently so, storming. And I talked a lot about those vertical crevices, those vertical cliffs and stuff. I think of the entire environment that contains this thing as being composed of these magnificently vertical crevice-like canyons that this perhaps is perched on or part of. And I think we're in pretty good shape. And those canyons are what your group has been traversing. And it may well be not entirely clear to the other Hivers that this is a place of refuge when they first see it.
Yeah, there's always a critic.
Just around the corner. Ah, here we are. You mean that's not another
Right.
corner?
Yeah, this place is nice, right? Right?
comparably dry.
Mm-hmm. So
There you
I
go.
think the best way to put this is. Oh, wait! Before we go on, what sort of interpersonal or inner life reflections? I can think of a few based on observing us play. But what from last session? What kind of things did the characters go through or think about? Because some of it was really interesting.
Oh, did anyone else want to go before I start jaw-jacking? And,
No, go ahead.
well, with the Protector Annihilator, he is seriously stressed that basically he knows that all the adults, everyone who came on the ship, this colony is not for them. Essentially, we're dead. We're walking dead right now. And what he's trying to do is this next generation, these hatchlings, is to make something safe and viable for them. Because he's done. But he needs to help these hatchlings adapt and to thrive here. Because as the way my character sees it, this is a failed colony. And Hivers, like when the colony has failed, none of the genetic material from that colony is viable anymore because it's a failed colony. So we probably will not get any help unless we help ourselves. That's what my character thinks anyway.
How optimistic?
I was. All right. And I think with my character Hatch being so young and coming in, as basically being born as a ship is kind of crashing and the matriarch dying and, flames and, this horrible environment, again, I guess the good thing about being young is you don't know any better. This is it. And you just immediately go into survival mode. So I think this will be how well everyone adapts in this new environment. And I think the younger ones will probably have an easier time than the more established older ones in this world.
Certainly threw themselves into the role with great enthusiasm.
That's right.
Yeah. And one thing I talked about with Protector Annihilator is that you had were undergoing sort of the drawdown of all of your destructive firepower and your kind of demobilizing you,
right,
so that you could have a nice quiet retirement of sort of technically protecting the matriarch, but really you get to sort of finish out your days and in the lawn chair was sort of the
that's
the
right. That's right. Oh, that's another important thing. The matriarch died.
Yeah,
we do
exactly.
not have
Yeah,
a matriarch.
absolutely.
We have her body, but we do not have her,
Right.
and that is crippling.
Right. The interesting issue. There are several issues there we can talk about biologically later, but the thing that is important for me is that the ship underwent basically you were revived with a lot of your old firepower and armoring and stuff like that still operational. And so basically you're sort of resurrected or awakened without having undergone that modification or that demodification. Right. So
that's right. I still got my old pants on.
Yeah, exactly. And so so that's one thing. We watched you lethally annihilate something that threatened the group on the way to the colonies. So and you're considerably more sizable than the other characters as well. So then we have Helma. What were some of your thoughts?
So Hita isn't, well, she's part of the hive, but she's operating on her own or with smaller groups usually. And While the whole situation is new for her, she isn't too pessimistic. She's a little bit more like, okay, so this didn't work. Now we try the next thing.
Your
Just
analysis
another day
indicates,
at
yeah,
the job.
yeah.
She's more like, okay, so this time I'm not going to move out and continue looking
Mhm.
for a new place. This time I probably have to stay here and, well, make this place habitable.
Your
Uh,
analysis indicated that it's possible,
yeah,
right? I mean, it's
there's
not.
always a way.
Mhm,
We just have to find it.
mhm.
There is a place. We just have to find it.
Excellent. Well, everybody gets +1 die to their pool, if you hadn't already.